On the outskirts of Millbrook, nestled between abandoned factories and overgrown woods, lay an old, crumbling mansion known locally as Hollow Manor. For years, it had been the subject of teenage daredevils and ghost stories, but none dared to venture too close, especially after the sudden disappearances that started happening a year ago. Rumors whispered about strange noises, flickering lights, and a lingering sense of dread that clung to the decrepit estate. 17-year-old Leah had always been skeptical of ghost stories. To her, they were just tales to scare newcomers. But when her best friend, Ryan, suddenly disappeared after sneaking into Hollow Manor one night, her skepticism turned into resolve. She needed to find out what really happened. Leah gathered her courage at dusk, her flashlight trembling in her hand as she approached the towering gates. The ironwork was rusted and bent but still intact, like a broken set of teeth scraping the sky. She pushed the gates open with a squeal of hinges and stepped onto the cracked pathway leading to the front door. Shadows danced in the dying light as the wind moaned through broken windows. Inside, the air was thick with dust and the scent of decay. Walls were lined with peeling wallpaper, revealing layers of mold and rot beneath. Leah's footsteps echoed as she moved through the sprawling hallways, her senses heightened by the oppressive silence. She called out Ryan's name, her voice barely more than a whisper lost amid the silence. Suddenly, a faint noise drew her attention, a shuffling sound, like something dragging itself across the floor. Heart-pounding, Leah pressed against the wall to peer into the dim corridor. A pale, gaunt figure emerged from the shadows, its skin gray and mottled, eyes sunken and milky. The figure's limbs moved with unnatural jerks, and its mouth was split open in a silent scream. Leah staggered backward, her breath caught in her throat. But then she saw Ryan. He was slumped against a wall, eyes glassy but alive. His clothes were torn and soaked in something dark and sticky. When she ran to him, Ryan's lips parted in a strained whisper. "Leah, help me." Before she could respond, another figure appeared behind Ryan, limping, rotting, with vacant eyes that seemed to follow her every move. Several more stumbled into the hall, their movements erratic and jerky. They were zombies. Leah's mind raced. She remembered the stories. Zombies were reanimated corpses, driven by a hunger for flesh. But these weren't the mindless monsters of movies, they were something else. They moved with purpose, failed to speak but clearly desperate, their eyes flickering with a flicker of intelligence, or perhaps just residual human emotion intertwined with their cursed existence. Blood pounded in her ears. She backed away, eyes darting for an escape route. But the hallway behind her was blocked by debris and fallen furniture. The zombies advanced, slow but relentless. Panicking, Leah grabbed a broken piece of wood from the floor. She swung wildly, striking one of the creatures in the shoulder. It jerked back, snarling, a guttural sound that sent chills down her spine. Ryan was trying to crawl away, moaning softly. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the mansion. A hidden trapdoor in the floor burst open, and from beneath, a dark, oily substance spilled out, accompanied by a faint, disgusting smell. Out of the darkness, more grotesque figures emerged, deformed, elongated, sometimes with parts missing, yet undeniably alive and hungry. Leah's instincts kicked in. She scrambled toward the nearest window, smashing the glass with her fist, and climbed out onto the overgrown roof. The moonlight glinted off the zombies' eyes below as they clawed at the glass, their moans rising in unison. She scrambled over the roof's edge and dropped to the ground outside. Her heart hammered as she sprinted away from the mansion, branches scratching her face, her breath ragged. Behind her, the muffled sounds of shuffling and frustrated growls faded into the night. Days later, police arrived to investigate Hollow Manor, but all they found was an empty wreck. No sign of Ryan, or the others. Only the mansion's shadowy silhouette remained, a silent reminder that something terrible lurked within its decaying walls. Leah never truly recovered from that night. The images haunted her dreams, the zombies' hollow eyes, their relentless pursuit, and the sickening awareness that whatever they weren't just mindless monsters. They were something far worse, something that could never truly be destroyed. Sometimes, late at night, she swore she heard the faint scrape of claws and moans carried on the wind. And she knew, deep down, that the horrors of Hollow Manor had only begun to awaken.